Hello, this is just a little short story that may add to your amusement. The common illnesses of man can afflict werewolves. I hate to admit that, but I do. Before we begin, I send my appreciation to all the members of the Facebook group. You're fantastic. I look forward to your posts and interactions, and sometimes, I have to be honest, you make me look and feel normal. Thank you all. The pack has grown dramatically over the last 2 months. I now have people from all over the world to interact with. It's quite scary. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram or join the Facebook pack, then my thingies are in the description. What's it in the doofer? People have also been supporting the show through Buy Me a Coffee link. Who knew my stories would find such appreciation? It warms my heart that your warped minds are attuned to mine. Anyway, back to the story. Aren't flowers nice? Fuck off. Don't you judge me by liking flowers, you knobheads. Flowers are lovely, and I like fresh ones around my home. They're weird things if you think about it though, aren't they? They're plants' genitals. Yeah, you probably realise they are, but have you ever thought about it properly? They are plants' sexy bits that your partner, mum and granny look at and love when you hand them a bunch. Yeah, you give them a bunch of hacked off sex organs. What can be slightly more disturbing is when they stuff their noses deep into them, take a big sniff, and then tell you how beautiful they smell. Seems a bit odd to me. Pretty flowers have evolved to attract the animals required to pass their pollen on from one plant to another. They are designed to get something else to come, dip themselves in plant cum, and then immerse themselves in another flower of the same species. It's a little bit crazy if you think about it like that. The bees and the beautiful butterflies are little comb carriers for the plant overlords. I suppose they get a little nutritious reward in the form of some nectar though. Delicious. Does that mean a pollinating insect is going down on a flower? I mean, no, let us not go any deeper down that rancid rabbit hole. Most of the flowers we see are not seen as the creatures that actually pollinate to see them either. God, that was a difficult sentence. Humans do not get to see them in the light spectrum that insects, for instance, do. How beautiful must they be to those creatures, seeing them as they are meant to be seen? The white pigments of the flowers become an ultraviolet shine of bright purpliness. So we've established that for some sick reason we love these flowers. Fucking parts. So let us think of some of the ways we appreciate these plant genitals. One method is to cut them off the plants and arrange them nicely around our homes. That's right, we get plant genitals and we have them in pots around our homes to look at and sniff and like. You try and do that with animal genitals and people see you as being strange. I know, I've tried. People get upset. That is one business that failed before it began. Having said that, I do have a display piece of a bull's dick on my wall. Yeah, it's been dried and treated and given a walnut handle and a brass ferrule. Yeah, it's a walking stick. I want to say I knew that the metal tip of the stick that strikes the floor was called a ferrule, but to be honest, I had to look that up. I do know what the ends of shoelaces are called though. You know, the plastic taped ends or the metal bits on the posher shoes. They're called aiglets. Yes, see, this is an educational podcast in many ways, huh? If you already knew that, then you get a big thumbs up from the wolf. The shaft of the cane shaft is made up of the bull's actual shaft. Yeah, the shaft of its cock. Oh, you already had that. Sorry, I didn't need to repeat that it is its cock. Sorry, jeez. It is quite flexible and would have made an excellent riding crop. But have you seen the size of a bull's dick? It's massive at just over 3 feet long. I don't know how cows do it. All those guys on that farm in Alabama. I saw that video. All for educational purposes, obviously. Not one to Google for the faint of heart, that one. I will never be the same. Let's put it that way. Sorry, I was distracted there. Not by the porn. That was disturbing more than distracting. I am proud of my big bull's cock cane, though. Back to the story. I'm not talking about the flowers of most trees and grasses here. They tend to spunk their loads into the wind and hope it is taken to the opposite number by just sheer luck. These are the wind pollinators. They work on the idea that if you pump loads of pollen into the sky, they will likely land on a plant of the same species somewhere. Now let's think about that when you walk through that woodland or that grassland. You are actually trundling through horny plants, dumping their respective loads into the air you breathe. It goes in your eyes, and some people's eyes get like itchy and their noses run in response as their body fights off the allergens. Yes, there is plant cum in the air. No wonder your body reacts badly. It should. Ew. People describe it as beautiful woodland and meadowland when there is death, misery and sex going on all around you. How lovely, huh? Take the little birdies chirping away in the grass and the bushes. How beautiful they sound as they sing their delightful little songs. Let us translate those songs. Listen to this one. Let's translate. Let's see what he's saying. Yeah, let me get this right. Fuck off. Fuck off. This is my bit of tree. Fuck off, or I will kick your fucking head in. That's what he's saying. Oh, and how about this one here? Yeah, well, she's shouting, I'm horny, 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 horny. If you are open and a decent fecund male, I will be shagged by you. Delightful nature, isn't it? I like the flowers that use animal pollinators mostly, the garish and the colourful, those that attract a creature to come along and do the sex thing for it. They are living art and inspire me as much as anything in the world. I love them individually, in beautiful arrangements, in the grand gardens or where you find them in swathes in the wild. Amazing how they work at any level. Also, they work in their huge diversity of sizes, shapes and colours. Another delight for me is to see them in my doggy senses. They are very different then in their sensual context. I have seen some of the finest flowering displays in the world. I have managed to wander through the sakura cherry trees of Japan when the flowers have been in bloom. I've walked amongst the trees on the shoulders of the Kii Mountains. I've even seen the giant tree Mount Yashiro. This magnificent tree becomes so heavy with the pinky purple blossom that they bow down towards the ground as though offering the blooms to the thousands that attend the spring blooming. I've wandered Monet's gardens in France. The Gaverny estate is a beautiful place. People get lost in the water gardens that inspired Monet's Water Lily series, but it's so much more and is one of the finest gardens I've ever had the pleasure to wander through. Sorry. Anyway, back to the point of this wandering story. After all that, I was in a florist's. For those of a macho persona that try to pretend that flowers are just things of the feminine, that is a shop that specialises in plant genitalia of all types to make the stereotypical woman of the stereotypical world weak at the knees, apparently. Or often where you would only stray on a Valentine's Day or on a hopeful night with your partner. Maybe possibly on a birthday or on a day where you've made a minor fuck up and you're apologising for the minor fuck up with a small bribe that says you are thinking of them, but in reality shows that you are willing to pay for forgiveness. So, I am in a hallowed place. I am in one of the retail establishments of the world's finest florists. I know you're excited and you can think of at least 10 florists that come to mind when I say that. What do you mean, no? Shame on you. I'll narrow it down for you then. I'm in Connecticut. Yeah? Yeah, you've got it, haven't you? You know which one it is. What do you mean, no? Jesus, are you uncultured or what? You see, here I am helping you to become a better human or a more educated werewolf in some cases. I know you werewolves are listening. This is Winston fucking Flowers. No, it's not called Winston fucking Flowers. That was me displaying my somewhat appalled anger at your lack of knowledge. It's Winston Flowers. Yes, you can now see why I'm so excited. They have some of the finest bouquets and displays you will see in any retail establishment in the world, and you should see what you get if you make a personal order. I was on hallowed ground, a small place of worship for an anthophile such as myself. Again, additional vocabulary for those that require it. An anthophile is a flower lover. I walked through the doors with the proverbial look of the child in the candy shop. It was just as promised. The variety and the quality were all there. Copious shelves of the finest blooms interwoven with living varieties of the finest plants. It was heaven. A beautiful florist was working at the desk. She was designing a tasteful centerpiece with what I could tell was the eye of a master artist. The flowers were beautiful, and she was so beautiful too, with long dark hair and honey-coloured skin. Fen was already complaining about the place. He does not get my like of flowers. I realise that I have to make these stories stand alone, so I always have to explain who the fuck Fen is. So here goes. Fen is a giant wolf soul from over 1,000 years ago. He's invisible to everyone but me. He is one of 74 original wolf souls that shared themselves so that both the wolf pack and a human tribe could survive a ferocious winter. He communicates with me telepathically and is my best pal and personal guide through the complications that being a werewolf brings. When I am a werewolf or a giant wolf, during the transformation he combines with me. There's none of that sort of painful, racked transformation shit that you see in the movies. It just happens really quickly. We combine and form either of the forms. It's great then because he's literally in my head and helps me think and react to all the shit that tends to happen when we change, which we can do whenever we decide to, by the way. That moon shit is bollocks. You can learn more about him in other episodes. Please go and listen to some. He was bored already and moaning about the place, telling me how shit flowers are and that I had something inherently wrong with me for liking the stinky bastards and all that. He can be a moany cunt at times. Well, I'm sorry, mate, you can. Sorry, we're talking here. We can't all like the same shit all the time, can we? You like fucking Laurel and Hardy films, but I don't say anything about that, do I? No, sorry, they're not funny in the fucking slightest. I'm sorry, yeah, mate, I'm sorry. Sorry, listeners, he's in a bit of a huff with me now. No, you fuck. Okay, I'm going to carry on with... Yeah, sorry. Anyway, back to the shop of my dreams. The interior designers had done an amazing job of balancing out a minimalist aesthetic with copious amounts of greenery. Honestly, I couldn't really work out how they did it, but it was both spacious and full at the same time. I sneezed. There's a weird flash and sensation, a momentary loss of time for some reason. I was now in this beautiful place looking at the pleasant assistant behind the counter. She was staring. Her face had gone from welcome and attentiveness to fear and revulsion. I was really confused. I tried to apologise for the sneeze. I was not ready for it, but I did cover my snout. Oh, shit. I looked around the room. The only other person was a bald campman holding an angrily barking chihuahua with a look of horror on his face and its face. I was confused, and then I looked down. Ah, shit. I'm a fucking werewolf. How the fuck did that happen? I looked down again. Now I was back to being a man. Obviously now a naked man, my clothes had ripped off, but this time with a very snotty hand. The lady at the counter had now run out of screams and was trying to work out what the fuck to do next. She looked at the phone and considered whether she should run for it or phone for help. A dilemma most of us would not have. She was beautiful and brave. Did I mention she's beautiful? Sorry. I looked for somewhere to wipe the larger volume of werewolf snot from my hand. The lovely muslin material roll had to be sacrificed. It hurt me a little to do so, but I thought I would have to clean my hand before I could try and explain what had just happened. I didn't want to kill this artist. Maybe she would just accept that... Nah, it's a shame. This gave me a brief enough interlude to look back at the man holding the yappy little rat. The noisy little fucking yappy rat. I needed it to shut the fuck up. Fen stood beside me, looking as confused as I was. He was busy looking himself up and down, and he turned to me with a smile. I had to ask him, "What the..." Fen flew across the space and slammed into me. I felt the physical impact, and as the werewolf once more, I swiped the dog from the man's hands. It squealed its outrage as it flew across the room. The man screamed and brought his hands to his mouth in response. The little doggy's body flew through the air and bounced and ruined a fine display positioned at the window. It was I keep using this word, but it's just so true for this room. A beautifully crafted scene made from a range of white seasonal flowers, lilacs and freesias and sweet peas. Now it was a bloody mess. Usually at this point I would say that the blood made this display better, but not in this context though. I typically find the addition of my favourite red pigment improves things, but nope. The display was ruined. Fucking ruined. Stupid little dog. I don't want to offend you, but stupid little dog. The man was still squealing as I turned back to him, and he pushed his fingers into his mouth, trying to muffle the sounds he was making. Fuck's sake. I came in to look at these beautiful things. Why does annoying shit like this always happen to me? Fucking noisy humans react badly all the time. Why do they always have to react so badly? Fucks me off that they're so unaccepting of what I am. It is a form of body shaming if you ask me, but there is no one trying to fight the shapeshifters' corner in politics, is there? I slapped the man's face with a clawed hand, ripping flesh and bone away from the skull as the body flew to the floor in a beautifully bubbling silence. Blood was pouring from the wound. The man's torn-off face flew from the head as if in slow motion and hit the perfectly white wall, where it made a large red splodge. I was hoping I could have told you that it made the perfect outline of a bloody red mask. You know, in some written work the face would have been turned into this bloody mural on the wall. Not in this case, it just left a non-artistic splodge up there. It did in fact spoil the crystal white perfection of the decor. The girl had sadly made the wrong choice. She should have won Employee of the Month for what she did. Well, she maybe would have still won it. I don't know, maybe she could have done so posthumously. As the correct choice was really to run the fuck away from the 8-foot-tall shadow of death that stood before her. She was thinking of the shop and the customers and phoning for help. What an idiot. She might be beautiful, but what an idiot. I stepped forward to grab her and bite her, and as I did so, I transformed back into the human halfway through the attempted grab. I managed to grip her hair with my now human hands. That would have been a killing blow if it had been a wolf claw, but now my stubby human fingers were tangled in her hair, and the outcome was me having to swing my body and slam her head into the counter. Not the quick silencing of the situation that I wanted. Thankfully, the phone left her hand and hit the floor, buzzing a dialing tone. She'd not managed to phone out for help, so I could allow myself a little time to deal with the situation. She screamed a protest at her treatment, so I slammed her head repeatedly, trying to get it to stop making the noise. Bang! Shut up! Scream! Bang! Shut up! Scream! Each bang of her head got wetter and less noisy. It went from rhythmic bangs to less rhythmic sloppy slaps after multiple impacts, and there was a lot of involuntary hair loss. The head became quiet, and I left it resting on the surface. Her beautiful face was now a wet, red, compressed, mashed-up mess. The counter was covered in blood clots, snot, hair, and a few loose teeth. Such a fucking waste. Sometimes I do regret the kills I make. Her body gently shook in its death throes as it leant over the counter. I was actually disgusted with myself, shaking my head as I disentangled my fingers from the bloody knotty mess that was now her not-so-lovely dark long locks, and looked around for anyone else. I could not sense anyone, and Fen was looking at me shocked. He could see I was pissed off as I wiped my hands clean on the back of the woman's shirt. I found it difficult to even make eye contact now with him. I was embarrassed and perturbed at what had just happened. The carnage was so sad. I'd ruined something I I should not have in this case. I know I go on about causing destruction, but in most cases it only makes things better. Here. No? What the fuck is going on? I asked Fen. He looked nervous and somewhat guilty. I may not have told you this in the past, Will, but we're allergic to lupins, he said, nodding at the small bouquet on the desk. I met his eyes. He met mine. There was a difficult moment between us which could have gone either way, but then he smirked, and as always, I just laughed. Remember werewolf rule number 1 and 2, Will. Never care about anything, and never take anything seriously. The sirens began their screech as faces looked in through the window. As the wolf, we ran. Thanks for listening. Go to the description and do things. Love you all. You're the best. Bye.